For those who are confounded, confused, or concerned by choice, Sundays are the most fun days, as there's only a single prompt. Today is August 15th, and so also it's the 15th day of RPG Day 2021. And our prompt for the day is supplement. Of course, even though there's just a single prompt, there's still a lot of variety in this word. For instance, will you respond to it from the perspective of it being a noun, as in one of the best supplements ever was? Or will you come at it like a verb, as in I like to supplement my descriptions with? Even among those who treat it like a noun today, depending on the game or lineage of games that informs the basis of their response, we are likely to see some variation, as one company's supplement is not necessarily like another's. No matter how you approach it, this prompt brings us to the end of the second full week of the marathon, and it puts us at the cusp between the first half and the second half of the event. Considering the role of supplements as the lifeblood of a lot of RPG companies, as the way many people enter into that side of the hobby, and as a common topic of conversation, it seems like a really fitting spot for such a word as our prompt. Don't you think? As I described in an earlier post, my view on what to buy and what to take care of myself as a role-playing gamer has changed a lot over the 38 years of my being one. In the beginning, partly by the necessity of very limited finances and very limited access to game stores, and partly by philosophy, I was very much a core books only sort of person. The whole idea of gaming to me was to take the rules and then make your own settings and situations for them. Even when I got to read a few adventures and later when I was given some, they seemed somehow different from the main direction of the hobby, to me. My friends and my fellow gamers all seemed to love them and love using and reusing them in various ways, but for me, it seemed like they were the exhibition game part of preparing for the regular season. How about that? I've finally used a sports metaphor. I blame Costner. Later in life, under the influence of Chaosium, White Wolf, and FASA, I found the urge to obtain supplements that I knew contained additional rules or information like historical data about an era or maps or details of a famous and reusable place. The urge for those supplements began to grow. And gradually, as I was slowly freed from financial restrictions because I was able to earn good money all the way through university, and because I was completely free of my past access problems, this was a golden age of expansion for me. One milk crate after another filled up and joined the stack, mostly supplements. Like with anything else, exposure led to a sort of, desensitization, and soon I started adding things because they existed, not necessarily because they added anything that I needed or wanted. Eventually, this began to lead to disappointment, opening something up and discover there was really nothing in it I was going to use. It led to disappointment. Enough of that, and recognition of that feeling turned to acceptance of that feeling, and then finally to action. I would move back to basics only. I wouldn't cut out supplements entirely. It's like everybody else. There are parts of my play which need supplementing. But what are the basics? What are the basics when it comes to a game line? What makes one supplement a must-have for me, one that's just interesting to me, and one that is flat out not for me? I think at some point each of us has to answer that question for ourselves, and today I thought I'd share my thoughts. For me, I only consider supplements that I know will make play easier and or richer. And that is a tall order. I will occasionally get a GM screen or something like that if it comes with a booklet with rules that couldn't fit in the page count of the core book. Or I'll get a supplement that completely reskins the game in a whole new theme or genre, so that I don't have to. A great supplement that made play easier for me, and in a way that I would not normally find useful or of interest, was a really old one. I'm going way back here. This was Book 2, The Old Ones, for Palladium Fantasy. That book gave me just enough information to be able to fill out the rest of the Palladium world the way I wanted it to be. But it also gave me a stable and fun starting point in its presentation of the Timuro Kingdom. I would eventually get all the regional books, but it is Book 2 that stands out in my memory and got the most use by far. To this day, I would launch a campaign with it, like tomorrow, given the chance. Another supplement that I found added a lot that I didn't expect, but that definitely eased my play of a game, was the companion for A Time of War, the Battletech or MechWarrior RPG. The game runs well without it, and we ran it for about 2 years without it, without really having problems. But the suggestions within it are really useful, and if adopted, they can make the game easier both to understand and implement. And in our later campaigns, we used it with pleasure. FFG's career sourcebooks were also excellent for the latter aspect, that of making play richer. The sections they offered on how to consider careers in a Star Wars context and in a specific game line context, such as this career for Edge of the Empire and that career for Age of Rebellion. I found this really useful for me in rounding out my responses in play to my very diverse crew in our long-running Edge of the Empire campaign, The Seeds of Reckoning. There are a lot of careers in play and specializations in play that I wouldn't necessarily choose myself. And the way that supplement focused on practical aspects of involving those specializations in activities that would bring out their talents and skills and supposed interests, supposed motivations. This was really helpful for making it feel like we weren't following just one thread through the Star Wars galaxy. We were in a web of connections, possibilities, interests, desires, and motivations. Making play easier and richer. Well, there aren't very many supplements that I feel check both boxes, but making play easier and richer is easily handled by one great supplement for ubiquity. This killer supplement to outshine all supplements was written by Wiggy of AAA's Games, and it saw life both for All for One, Régime Diabolique, and for Leagues of Adventure. It was called Serious Situations for All for One, and for Leagues it was called The Globetrotter's Guide to Dramatic Developments, and it is a groundbreaking and eye-opening look at running any Ubiquity game. It has more than a few transferable ideas for other games as well, making it worth the read regardless of system preference. It is what a GM's advice book or GM section should be, in my eyes. Actual, practical advice on using the system to achieve specific ends in real situations that are likely to arise. Not platitudes, not suggestions, not wouldn't it be cool if or you can always try, but actual practical methods. That is a supplement. Another great supplement that hits both of my personal criteria is the Luther Arkwright expansion for Mithras, expanding the rules from the Iron Age to well beyond the Space Age, plus adding in all sorts of useful personality and mental trauma rules, as well as a detailed set of psionic powers, while also covering every single aspect of how to use all of those rules within the adaptation of the Luther Arkwright graphic novels by Brian Talbot, makes it really stand out from the usual sort of publication. Okay. That's what I think is a valuable supplement, or criteria for valuable supplements. What are yours? Tomorrow's prompts as we move into Monday are, well, move, as well as tribute, villain, and fiend. Some interesting stuff for people to sink their teeth into. Well, if you would like to read these responses rather than listen to them, then you can do so at castingshadowsblog.com. This podcast, the Casting Shadows podcast, has grown out of the blog and our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Runeslinger. Well, if you've been following along throughout RPG a Day, you've heard that quite a bit, and for that you have my apologies. But if this is your first visit to the podcast, thanks for listening, and hopefully you'll come back again tomorrow. Take care.